How many of you guys are having fun so far today? Are we learning? Are we learning? You know, it's interesting. My favorite parts, if we can get the volume down a little bit, guys. My favorite parts of all these events is always the stories. How many of you guys remember the very first phone call, the very first introduction you got with some probably overly crazed, excited person on the other line introducing you to the challenge? How many of you guys remember that moment? Some of you guys are like, Blake, that was this morning, right? I'm still trying to figure out why I'm here. That's fine. Whether it was this morning, whether it was weeks ago, months ago, years ago. How many of you guys remember that moment? Can you have that moment in your head, right? You remember that moment? I'll share with you guys my story. I remember my moment. It was, probably close to 13 years ago. I was sitting in my college dorm room down in San Diego. I went to UCSD. Sitting in my college dorm room on this big clunky Toshiba laptop that I thought was all advanced technology at the time, playing on AOL Instant Messenger. Any of you guys remember AOL Instant Messenger, right? And all of a sudden, I was probably writing a paper or something at the time, all of a sudden an instant message pops up from someone I went to high school with. And I remember the only thing that it said on the AOL Instant Messenger is, hey, do you want to make some money? And of course, my initial reaction was, sure. And his next line on the AOL IM said, hey, come down to this place at this time tomorrow. It's going to be cool. And I said, okay. Any natural skeptics in the room? Natural skeptics in the room? I got to be brutally honest with you. I'm not one of them, right? I said, okay, this sounds easy. The irony was I had no idea what I was walking into. I was completely naive to the concept of network marketing or home-based business or entrepreneurship in general. I knew I didn't want to go to someplace strange by myself, so I grabbed like my entire dorm room floor and brought them with me to the meeting. I walked in, everybody's like, who's this guy rolling with all these people? I was like, I just didn't want to come by myself. Saw a presentation for the very first time, got introduced to the concept of word-of-mouth marketing, got introduced more so to the concept of entrepreneurship. And I remember going home that night and tossing and turning in my bed. I couldn't sleep because I saw the potential. I got it. How many of you guys admittedly at some point already in your Visalis journey have had sleepless nights? Anybody? You know you get it when you can't, you shut your eyes, but your mind doesn't turn off, right? I remember the next day, the person that invited me down, they said, well, okay, if you want to do this, you got to get trained. Does that sound familiar to anybody? It's like, you got to come to this event on Saturday. We're going to have all these top producers, all these speakers, right? The founders of the company from all over the world. You got to come to the event this Saturday. Anybody hear something like that? It's going to be great. I said, sure, I'll go. And then all of a sudden they tell me, no problem, it's in Atlanta. I went to school in San Diego. The training was in Atlanta. For those of you guys that don't know U.S. geography, they're not next to each other. But I said, okay, well, let's give this a shot. They're saying this is where you got to go to get the information. At 19 years old, I booked flights probably for the very first time I'd done that. Took my college loan money that I was supposed to be spending on books that quarter, bought a few less books, and flew across the country with people, most of which I just met. I remember staying in the hotel room that entire weekend. I think there were probably 9 of us in a hotel room. But I remember watching the stories cross the stage and seeing the potential. And get me wrong, guys, I choose the word potential because it wasn't the product or the service of that company that got me really excited. The company that I got introduced to with this industry, for those of you guys that know the story, it's where I met my partner, Nick Sarnicola. We were promoting long-distance phone service. Not exactly what I would call sexy, right? But the potential. I saw stories crossing the stage. And the seed got planted in my head that just continued to grow. Now, I got to share with you guys, it wasn't something that was easy for me to make a leap into entrepreneurship. For those of you guys that don't know my background, it's pretty much the exact opposite. of what you would think an entrepreneur would come from. People see the growth of ViSalus, like, this is crazy, how these guys do this at young ages. They assume we came from some business or entrepreneurial upbringing. The complete opposite, guys. My mom is a principal, my dad is a cop. Not meant to be a joke, but laugh at my pain, thank you. Ryan still messes with me. He goes, Blake, when you were a bad kid, did your mom give you Fs and your dad give you tickets? Like, in the box. In the box. Any of you guys grew up in ultra-conservative families? Any of you guys grew up being taught there was a certain path you had to follow to be successful? Any of you guys grew up in an environment like that? And that was it. That was my path. That's why I can still remember, guys, right, being the outstanding 6th grader in my elementary school, right? Graduating high school with a 4.2 GPA, right? Student body president, going to a top 6 university in all of California. I graduated there, 3 degrees, political science, public law, and psychology. Because to be successful in the environment I grew up in, you had to be a doctor or a... And I don't like blood. So I remember all this going through my head, coming to events like this, seeing that there was a different way, seeing there was a different lifestyle, seeing that there were options out there that I hadn't been taught growing up, not from my family, not from my parents, not from the educational system, and seeing there was another way for the very first time and watching that idea grow. And the inner conflict, literally battling everything from 0 to 18, 19 years old, I'd been taught what success was. I remember it kind of came to a climax in my own head when I graduated college. The reason I graduated college early was because I wanted to give this a shot at full time. I watched all these events, people crossing the stage, and I watched people crossing the stage that were in careers and professions that we were taught to go to school to get, yet they're on stage saying, I'm doing this to get out of them. Does that make sense? Like, I'm watching lawyers saying, man, I'm so glad I'm doing this, I'm retiring. I'm watching doctors, I'm watching professionals, I'm watching executives, and I'm sitting there in the seats going, wait a minute, I'm supposed to go to school to get grades, to go through this process, to work for 40 years, so I can end up on stage trying to get out of all of that? I'm just going to skip the whole part in between. But I remember my college graduation party. How many guys, high school, college, when you graduated, when you're done with your university, you either had a party or a celebration, or maybe you kids are going through that process now and they're having these little parties or celebration, or even if you don't have a party, when you finish with the educational path, everybody on planet Earth comes up to you and says, so now, what are you going to do? I wish I could have said ViSalus. Here's me. You graduated 3 years, Latin honors, right? Triple degrees from a top 6 university. What are you going to do? I'm starting a home-based business selling long-distance phone service. People thought I was nuts. Belief system had to shift. I had to reinvent. What's that word? Reinvent. Everything that I'd been taught to take that off-ramp, that different route we call entrepreneurship. Yaks in my head the entire time. Is this going to work? Is this the right thing? Some of you guys will go through that same process. Depending on your upbringing, right? Depending on your environment. Some of you have belief systems right now that are not going to be the beliefs you need to get to where you want to go. Matter of fact, I remember at one of the events I was at a young age, the speaker from the stage said that, called me out. He said, Blake, you do not have the beliefs you need to get to where you want to go. And I'm like all defensive, like, this dude doesn't even know me. What's he saying? He doesn't know what my beliefs are. He's like, because if you had those beliefs already, you would already be there. Reinvention. So we did it. I said, you know what? We're going to give this thing a shot. I'm going to ignore maybe what a lot of people around me thought was the best path, just looking out for me, don't get me wrong, out of love, out of what they thought was right. But I just knew in my heart there was a different way. Any of you guys ever find yourself in that fork in the road before, right? And it worked. We started to build, we became successful. Myself and Nick actually became some of the top income earners at the youngest age for that company. We were top of the world. I remember at 21 years old, I was living like right on the beach in Del Mar, California. I'm a surfer by heart. Is there surf up here in Vancouver? It's probably freezing, huh? I didn't even know where I was until I woke up this morning, looked out my window, I'm like, there's the ocean. 21 years old, great surf right out front, making as much income as most of my professors were at that time, passively having the lifestyle. I thought I was done at 21. How many of you guys wouldn't mind being in that place? Beat the system. Then I remember very clearly, 5 years into that journey, Nick calls me, stepping outside of an event in Northern California, says, we got to talk. I said, this is probably not going to be good. And he proceeds to say that the company we were part of had been struggling, and it's gotten to the point where it's losing so much money, the investors that were backing it were done. They gave up and they were going to stop funding. That every single other leader in the company decided to go elsewhere, and the company, after 5 years of us pouring our heart and our soul and our vision into it, the company was shutting its doors. Now, for some of you guys, you're like, 5 years? Come on, that's nothing. When you're like 20, it's a quarter of your life. Yak yaks. Oh, no. We're all of those people. Do I fall back on the early programming, fall back on the degrees, fall back on the traditional path, fall back? Internal dialogue. Now, don't get me wrong, it was there. I'm just being brutally honest with you guys. It was there. That stuff goes on in our head. Who knows what I'm talking about? For those of you guys who are like, voices in his head, what is he talking about? That's the voice I'm talking about. Like, right? But even with all that inner turmoil, there was never really an option to quit. So here's the thing, guys, and as you start growing your Visalis team, the bigger your team gets, the more you're going to realize with leadership comes responsibility. Who would agree with me on that one? And when you paint a vision for people, and they buy into that vision, and they give everything they got to that, there is no turning back. It's not about you anymore, it's about them. Does that make sense? So myself and Nick did probably the stupidest thing we could have done at the time. We said, oh, no worries, we'll buy the company. We'll run the company, and the sales, and the field, and we'll do it all. We got this. Let me just check up real quick. The only job I'd ever had at that point in my life was a high school pool lifeguard. The only jobs Nick had ever had was a suit broker, and he worked at TGI Fridays. He was the guy with the flare. Don't tell him I told you that. So you got two guys in their early 20s, right? The lifeguard and the suit broker on Fridays that are going to go out there and salvage a sinking ship in a declining industry. Wouldn't have bet on those odds. Would not have bet on those odds. People ask me, how'd you get through those times? It's hard to explain. I believe the odds don't matter when the intentions are real. The odds don't matter when the intentions are real. Here's what I mean by that. If you're doing things with the right what? Intentions. It's amazing how the world conspires to open doors. Door name, Dr. Seidman. Door name, Ryan Blair. Right? All of a sudden we go out there and this idea starts to take shape. And then Ryan comes in, obviously, with a lot more business savvy and says, what are you guys doing? Get out of this. If you're going to go out there and do all this work, let's start with a clean slate. And so the idea of Visalis was born 2005, 7 years ago. And we go to work from that moment. But isn't it interesting, guys? That's not what I signed up for. At 18, when they painted this picture and I became a distributor, promoter of that company, I didn't sign up to try to save a sinking ship. Does that make sense to everybody? But isn't it weird that sometimes the path you think you're supposed to go, later on you realize is not the path you're going to end up on at all? Has anybody had this experience in their life? I think the late great Jim Rohn, one of my favorites, right? He says it best. He says, for things to change, you must what? You gotta change. If you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got to do something different. So we started building Visalis, very humble beginnings. Myself, Nick, and Ryan, challenge party to 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 challenge party, called home presentations at the time. Funding the company out of our own pocket. And all of a sudden, this little idea started to grow. And it grew, 2005, 2006. Not the rocket ship, not the fastest horse out of the gates. But there was good energy behind it. There was real intentions behind it. We knew we were going to build something for the long term. For the what? Because we knew we were never going to put the people that were following us in the situation that we had been put in ever again. Then all of a sudden, 2008 comes around. The Gergen family and Blythe entered the picture. By the way, side note, if you guys ever do a deal with a billion-dollar public company, just be prepared. They shine a flashlight up everywhere for like a year. It ain't an easy thing to do. But I remember going through all of that in 2008 and then sitting there saying, this is it. We're growing. People's stories, they're transforming. Billion-dollar public partner, 30 years, Wharton School named after them, brilliant people on Wall Street. And now all of a sudden we go up under that family of brands. We're backed by $1 billion global public company. How many of you guys think that'd be an awesome place to be? And it was, for about 2 weeks. Myself, Nick, and Ryan out in New York, we're having like the celebration dinner, right, having a good time. Bob Gergen, chairman of Blythe, pulls us aside. He says, congratulations, guys. Now get ready for the biggest storm we're all ever going to go through in the history of our careers. I'm like, Bob, you're ruining the party. Sure enough, weeks later, Lehman Brothers this, president going on declaring recession, depression, the entire consumer completely retracts. Everybody gets afraid of spending. How many of you guys still today, either you or people you know, are still dealing with the aftermath of 2008, 2009, the economic, right? I mean, everything we had built, 5 years, I don't know what's up with the number 5 years, okay? 5 years up, in a matter of months, completely wiped out. Losing money, almost out of business, gone. 40% of the people that wanted our products, their credit cards would be declined every month. 40% of people that wanted the products. We're like, oh my gosh, not again. Yak, yak. What do we do? What we're doing that was working is no longer working. You guys will find that a lot of times in your life. The things that get you to where you are won't be the things that get you where you want to go. Even if they made you successful before, things change. Would you guys agree with me on that one? Things change. The only thing constant in life is change. So we sit in a room, again, committed to what we were doing, and go out there with the mission to totally reinvent our entire business. Everything from the inside out. Tabula rasa, blank slate, let's rebuild. Let's create something that will resonate with today's consumer, something that today's entrepreneur can thrive and grow in. And after 6 months or so of literally putting our minds and our hearts on whiteboards, charts, paper, everything, we launched our reinvention strategy July 2009 that you guys know as the Body by Buy Challenge, and the idea worked. 2009, moderate growth, but I'll tell you guys, it didn't work right away. I had a call like a couple weeks ago. A lot of people don't realize this. When you ask around Visalis, you're not going to find a lot of promoters that were here before 2009. You won't. There were our biggest leaders, people that were with us since day one. that when we made the shift to the challenge, they're like, I'm done. Lost belief. Doubt. They're like, I can't make this change. Quit. Any Think and Grow Rich fans in the room? Talk about quitting 3 feet from, ooh. And I don't say it to be funny. I still talk to a lot of these people. People that were our Jason O'Toole's and our Mike Craig's and Kyle Passetti's of the early day. Visalis BC, before the challenge. And the conversations are awkward. Like, well, how are things? You know, well, things are okay. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, dude! Oops. But with the people that stuck with us, guys, we grew. We reformatted, we grew. The stories started to organically grow in 2010. We averaged 15% month over month over month, all of 2010. In 2011, the model started to prove itself. That 15% jumped to 20% month over month over month over month over month over month, all of last year. Got awarded from the Direct Selling News. Out of the entire industry across the globe, Visalis got the Growth Award for all of the direct sales industry for our growth last year. That's because a lot of you guys, your efforts, your passion. Talk about weird. The banquet dinner was a couple months ago. Weird, right? They're doing the banquet. The whole industry's there, like all these people. And this is everyone. And they announce, right, the big growth award. And it's like Visalis. And then there's me and Nick, like, you know, and Ryan sitting at the table, like, you know, oh, excuse me, like Avon, excuse me, Herbalife, excuse me, Amway, excuse me, Tupperware, excuse me, Mary Kay. And then there's us standing on stage, right? Weird. Weird. That's you guys. That's not us. That's you. Companies, guys, that a year ago didn't even know we existed. They would laugh at us. It reminds me of the, I think it was the Gandhi saying that first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I think we're in that fighting stage right now. I don't know about you guys. And then what's going on this year, guys, is just crazy. I mean, you guys know the statistics. Do you ever stop back and just 150,000 people a month? 150,000 people join the challenge. You guys, we've had over 150,000 the last 3 months. That's almost 500,000 people the last 3 months. We just passed our first million in March. 7 years to 1 million people. 500,000 last 90 days. Are you guys getting this? Every second, 7 people across North America drink a Visalis shake. Every 40 minutes, someone qualifies for a Beamer. Every day, 3 new black jackets. 3 new ambassadors are qualifying every single day. Are you kidding me? And now we're sitting here talking this month, next month, as we're going into Vitality. M2 what? M2 what? M2 what? What? If I hadn't been there, I almost wouldn't believe the story. But isn't it interesting when you reflect back on this, and I find myself pondering, I look back and go, it's crazy, because if you really look at each significant moment of decision, every time we came in a fork in the road, think about it. It took me overcoming my environment and my belief to take a leap of faith on this thing called entrepreneurship instead of going the direction everyone else wanted me to go. And had I not done that, I wouldn't be here. Most of us wouldn't be here. It took myself and Nick and Ryan sitting there on the brink, right, guys, of a failed company. The ashes of a failed company. And from the ashes of a failed company, the idea of Visalis was born. And then it took us to go all the way up and come crashing down on the brink of bankruptcy in the middle of the worst recession of all of our lives, that the challenge was created. You guys sense a pattern here. Isn't it interesting? The most critical moments that led us to where we are happened in moments of crisis, happened in moments of challenge. I want you guys real quick, just reflect back on your life, and I want you to think about, has there ever been a situation where you were in the middle of just stuff, like it sucked, and in that situation you made a decision that later on you realize, oh, that's why that happened? Has any of you guys ever had that experience? Think about it. You see, it's going through all of this, guys, I developed my own personal philosophy. Some of you guys have heard me share this. The philosophy is this: the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. The greater the challenge, the greater the what? Because think about it. Every time you get thrown a challenge, an obstacle, an issue, a problem, what if it was just the world testing you in funny ways to see if you deserved what was on the other side? What if? Think about it. Would that be a different perspective, yes or no? Every time something hit you, the universe is conspiring in the background saying, let's throw this at them and see if they're deserving of the reward on the other side. See, here's the problem. The problem is, I think, somewhere along our lifespan, we got the impression that we're not supposed to have problems. That's the problem. The problem is we think we're not supposed to have what? Watch this. Can you guys be honest with me? Oh, you guys are a bunch of liars here in Canada? What's the deal? Can you guys be honest with me? It's okay, we're family here. You can be real. How many of you guys just came out of some problem in your life? How many of you guys right now, as I'm talking about problems, you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, because you're right now in the middle of some problem in your life? For those of you guys that didn't raise your hand, no worries, there's one right around the corner. Just wait. We call that what? Guys, it's not problems that separate those that make it and those that don't. It's not the problems that separate massive successes from your average Joe. It's not the problems, because we all have what? We call that what? It's how you choose to interpret that situation and what you do in response to that problem that makes the difference. You guys, I found two types of people in life. Every time people get confronted with a problem, they're going through life. It can be family, career, social, business. I'm talking any dynamics of life. You're going through, and all of a sudden, wham, someone knocks you down. Two types of people. Some people, in that moment, break down. They break down. Too much, overwhelming, consumed. Isn't depression one of the fastest growing things right now in all of civilization? It's crazy. People turn into medication, this, that. Some people break down. I feel so bad for that personality, because here's why. They never get to realize that had they just pushed through, there would have been something on the other side waiting for them. They break down. Other people, in that same moment, instead of breaking down, they break through. They do what? They do what? They do what? They break through. And pretty soon you break through a little problem, you're like, wow. And you build a muscle to break through a bigger problem, you're like, wow. It gets a little weird, because pretty soon you actually start enjoying problems. Kind of a weird thing. What if the story that I just shared, the memories you guys have in your own minds and your own experiences in life, what if every time you were in one of those problems, the greater the challenge, the greater the what? What if every time you had an obstacle set in front of you, it was actually a gateway to an opportunity? What if? I often find people that have a victim mentality. Anybody guys know people that have a victim mentality? Oh, woe as. Why does this have to happen to? Oh, here's my worst. Hate. Oh, I guess it's just not meant to. Oh! Talk about a disempowering belief. The greater the challenge, the greater the what? Guys, the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the opportunity. What if in every one of those moments, something greater was happening that you just couldn't explain? What if in every single one of those moments, go with me here, guys, what if what I'm saying is true? What if when you're sitting in those moments in life, there's some greater purpose, there's some greater meaning? What if everything really does happen for a... What if? I was hanging out with Tony Robbins. How many of you guys listen to Tony Robbins, read his stuff? Great stuff. Last year, he said something similar. He said, what if all your problems were really gifts? What if in sitting there, playing the victim, sitting there every single day saying, life is happening to me, it was really happening for you? What if? You guys ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure book? Are those up here in Canada? Like, I haven't seen them for a while. When I was little, like, there was this big craze of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, right? They're like little kids' books, and you're reading along some, story and fantasy, and then all of a sudden, when it gets to a moment of decision, on the bottom of the page, it gives you options. It says, turn to page 7 if you want to do this. Turn to page 22 if you want to do. Who knows what I'm talking about? Right? And then you say, I want to go to page 7. You go to page 7, you continue to read the story, you read on, all of a sudden, you get the new page, and it says, if you want to do this, turn to page 40. If you want to do this, turn to page 60. You guys know what I'm talking about. What if life was like a twisted, choose-your-own-adventure story? So you're going through your life, and all of a sudden at the bottom, boom, turn to page 7, or turn to page 22. You make a decision, you continue to go, and all of a sudden, boom, turn to page 40, turn to page 60. And the decisions you make in that moment actually determine how your story ends up. What if that was the truth? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the truth. I want you guys to write this question down if you're taking notes. When you're on those pages, in those moments, forks in the road, in the middle of crisis, ask yourself, what else could this mean? What else could this mean? What else could this what? Mean. And then tell yourself, well, the greater the challenge, the greater the challenge, the greater the problems are. Am I going to break down, or am I going to break down, or what? Break down, or what? Break through. Watch what happens. Guys, I'm telling you, the victories are always worth it. People are excited about where... How many of you guys are excited about where Visalis is right now? Be honest. Who's excited, right? How many of you guys already know you're a part of something bigger than yourself? You're a part of a movie. You're a part of something that's going to make radical change. How many of you guys feel that? That's not why I'm excited. Why I still lose sleep at night Or I can go out there, guys, day after day after day with urgency and intensity and passion. Why I'm excited is because I can see where we're going to be, and that's exciting. I sit back, guys, at night and I go, wait a minute. A year ago, 1 year ago from this month, we had 30,000 people a month joining the challenge. 1 year ago, I was on Facebook touting to everybody, welcome 30,000 people to the challenge. I can't believe 30. Now we're at how many? Over how many? Over how many? 30 to 150 plus in 12 months. A year ago, I was like 10 BMWs a day. We thought it was crazy. 10 BMWs a day. Now we're at a BMW every 40 minutes, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. 1 year ago, this month, 100 black jackets. I was like, do we have 100 ambassadors? Now over 500 qualified ambassadors and 3 new people a day qualifying for ambassador and above. A year later! But that's not the point. Here's the point. If that was the last 12 months, what's the next 12? Here's where this gets scary. The bigger we get, the better our model is working. Myself and Ryan, we're sitting in the Beverly Hills office, we're studying this stuff every single month. We go and look, we're like, this is getting crazy. The bigger we get, the more efficient we're getting. You guys, a lot of companies don't work like that. A lot of companies, the bigger you get, the more problems you have. It's like a massive tidal wave slamming a dam, and it's like, there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole. You guys, with ViSalus, the bigger we get, the better the model is working. It's crazy. I'm watching the numbers. I'm like, we passed $400 in product revenue per promoter, and now I'm like, we're up to $460 in product revenue. Every month, the number goes up. Every month, the number of percentage of people hitting Rising Star, hitting BMW, hitting Ambassador goes up. What's scary, guys, is that was the last 12 months. And we have the ability for the next 12 to grow even faster. 30,000 to 150. I'm not great at math, but I think that's 5 times growth. If we hold that percentage, the next 12, 150,000 times 5, anybody? 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 750,000 people a what? 9 million people a year joining the Body by Vi Challenge at the same growth pace? If we go from 10 BMWs a day to 1 every 40 minutes, what the heck does that look like in 12? We're going to be like, BMW, congrats BMW, congrats BMW, 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 BMW. 500 ambassadors, 100 to 500, 500 to 25. Any potential new black jackets plan on breaking in the room over the next 12 months? Guys, that's crazy. But here's where this gets exciting. You guys, when we start doing those numbers, it's not about ViSalus. We're literally redefining an industry that has existed for 115 years. Do you realize the ViSalus community all across North America is literally shifting people's perception of direct selling? You guys you don't even realize this. It's shifting the perception. Most people don't even realize we're a network marketing direct selling company. They just think we're some challenge and we share stuff on Facebook, right? You guys, over the next couple years, you're going to see the lines between selling and sharing blur. You're going to see it. You're going to see models of tomorrow be based on social referral. You're going to see it. ViSalus is leading that in our space. But here's the kicker. We're not even playing to be number 1 in our industry. Don't get me wrong. Beating all those companies that I just said is something we will do along the way. Don't get me wrong. But you guys, we're not playing to be the number 1 direct selling company. That's too small of a sandbox. We're playing to be a multi-billion-dollar mainstream brand that people know all across North America and eventually all across the world and say, that's a company I want to be a part of across any industry. Who wants to play for that vision? And do you realize what's going to happen to people's bodies and people's lives? If 10 million, I just said 9 million over the next 12 months. Let's lower it. Let's cast a further vision. Let's go 5 years out. 5 years out. Let's say we slow down, we don't go out there and do 9 million in a year, which is possible. Let's say over 5 years, we help 10 million people join the challenge. Possible? What happens if 10 million people lose 10 pounds? For those of you guys quick at math, 10 million times 10 pounds is what? Is what? Is what? You guys, what happens if 10 million people lose 10 pounds? I'm a little scared because planet Earth might fall off its axis. And what happens when we take those stories, guys, of people's transformations? Starts with one. Because if you can transform your body, you can transform the body of your neighbor. True? And if you can all transform the bodies of your neighbors, you can transform a community. True? And if you can get good at transforming communities, you can transform a city. True? And if you can transform cities, you can transform provinces and states. True? And if you can transform those, you can transform a country. True? And if you can transform a country, you can transform a continent. If you can transform the continent, you can transform a world. That is possible. I want to see a news reporter. We just did the new analysis on obesity growth rates, and for the first time in like decades and decades and decades, it went backwards. And to watch them sitting there scratching their head like, we don't know what caused this. We don't even know what's going on. All of a sudden, people are getting skinnier. And then you got the entire Visalis nation and army all over the place walking around like winking at each other. Right? They're like, see a Body by Vi logo. They're throwing the Vi sign. They're driving past the BMW on the road, giving the nod. Right? All of a sudden, it's like, yo, we know what we did. How many guys are down for that? Guys, it's possible. It's what? Possible. It's possible. And how can I stand on stage and say that with conviction and congruence? Guys, I can see that clearly. Here's why. It's not because I think we're smarter than everybody else. It's not because I think we know something that everybody else doesn't know. It's not because I think we're better than anybody else. I just know that Visalis and the leadership in this company has always been willing and always will be willing to go through the problems that most people are not willing to go through. And because we're willing to go through the problems, we will get the rewards. Does that make sense to everybody? That's it. That's the secret. That's the secret. The greater the challenge, the greater the what? Problems are what? When you get faced with them, you don't break down, you what? That's my story. It's a little bit of the Visalis story. What's your story? What if the vision I just painted over the next 5 years happens? What if we go out there and continue to do what we've been doing and the stories become so undeniable that we start hitting those numbers, transforming lives, it becomes a movement and a phenomenon. All over Canada, all over the States, then all over the rest of the world over the next 5 years. What if that happens? How does your life change? What if today was one of those moments like the gentleman I met in the back of the room? What if today was one of those pages where you said page 7 or page 22? What if today, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, is a critical, changing moment for your story. What if you left here taking action, you helped us create those statistics, transform lives? 5 years from today, what would your life look like? 5 years from today. June 9th, 2017. On any part of planet Earth, I run into you. We bump into each other in the midst of living our life 5 years from today, and what I said happened, and you helped lead that movement. Your life is radically different. 5 years from today, I run into you, and I look at you, I go, wow, you look different. Explain your life to me. No, literally, tell me what's different. What's different 5 years from today for you? Let me hear it. No, what's different? Guys, we just dominated all that growth. You led it 5 years. Guys, don't get me wrong. All these black jackets, all these blue jackets, all these silver jackets, you guys, it hasn't even been 5 years from them. If all these stories you're seeing are already happening over the last year, 2 years, before this growth, what's it going to look like 5 years from today? I run into you 5 years from today. Wow. Describe your life to me. Describe your life to me. Now, come on, guys, describe your life to me. What is it? 5 years from today. Where are we running into each other? Where are we? Describe your life to me. Guys, get it in your mind. 5 years, describe your life. What's different? Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. If I can get some music here, because we need to get you guys understanding this space. Hold on. In a minute, I'm going to ask you 5 years from now to stand up. Now, I want to get this straight because I'm not talking to you. Right now, you guys think I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you, how many years? 5 years from now. I'm talking to you 5 years from now. Everything I said just happened. You were a part of that ride. You are a different person. Your life is a different person. All the stories, I'm talking to you 5 years from now. When I ask you to stand up, I want the you 5 years from now to stand up, guys. 1, 2, 3. I want to see you 5 years from now. Yeah. Sit down, 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 sit down. Keep the music going. Guys, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the you what? 5 years from now. I'm telling you, the you 5 years from now doesn't stand up like that. That was pathetic, okay? The you 5 years from now stands up in a totally different place. Put yourself in the state. You 5 years from now. Let's get the music going. Let's get the music going. I want to see you 5 years from now. Let's get the music going, guys. You 5 years from now. Can you guys do this? Can you guys do this? Sit down. I haven't told you to stand up. Come on. 5 years from now. Music, please. Come on. Describe your life to me. Describe your life to me. You 5 years from now. What is your life? What is your life? What is your life? Come on. Come on. Now, come on, guys. 5 years from now, you helped us build a multi-billion-dollar company. Let me hear you. 5 years from now. Let me hear you. Okay. Wow, you guys look like different people. Wow. How many of you guys like the you 5 years from now? Do you like the you? How many of you guys feel different? Is it possible? Say it's possible. Say it's possible like you mean it. Say it's possible like you just did it. It's what? Okay, so here's my question. You can cue that other song. Here's my question. And I'm not talking to you. Some of you guys, I'm still talking to you. I don't want to talk to you. I know where you are. And I'm willing to bet that's not where you want to go. Would you guys agree with me on that one? For things to change, you must what? For things to be different, you must do something what? So here's my question to you. Not you, you 5 years from now. I walk into you, you explain to me and you describe to me that energy of the lifestyle you have. And I ask you one question. What did you change in that room, sitting next to the harbor in Vancouver on June 9th, 2012? What did you change to make this possible, this new you? You. What did you change? Rights. 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 Music up, please. Rights. You know the answer. What'd you change? For those of you guys that are not writing, I'll tell you where you're going to be 5 years from now. Probably in the same place you are today. What do you need to change today for that to be your lifestyle? You guys see, if you ask yourself the question, you'll give yourself the answer. Most people just don't know the right question. They spend their life saying, oh, woe is me. Why does this happen to me? Horrible question. What do I have to change to make that a reality? Circle the top three. Circle the top three. What are the top three things that you know right here, right now, that you of today needs to change? Needs to what? For you to live that lifestyle that you want to live 5 years from today. Ask and you shall. Seek and you shall. Circle your top three. You guys got to put yourself out there. I know it's scary, right? I know it maybe feels different. I know it maybe goes against some of the stuff up here because there's a part of you that knows that you need to change and there's a part of you that doesn't want to what? But I'm willing to bet we all didn't come down here to hang out on a beautiful day in Vancouver because we had nothing else to do. We are in this room because we want something different. Who wants something different? Who's willing to do what it takes to have it? Let me hear you. Are you really willing to do what it takes? Because I'll be honest, there's problems you're going to run into. The greater the challenge, the greater the problems are. When you hit them, you don't break down, you what? Some of you guys are like, this guy hasn't even mentioned a shake. Guys, here's the deal. What we do is very simple. We help people get healthy. We help people make money. Is that pretty much what we do, yes or no? And if you were to poll all of planet Earth and they were to answer honestly, you have something about your health that could use a little improving, and they were to answer honestly, all of them would say what? If you were to poll planet Earth and they were to answer honestly, hey, would more money make your life easier? And they answered honestly, all of them would say what? So you guys, we have something here that everybody needs. Then why isn't everybody going to cross the stage as an ambassador? Why won't all of you in the room live the lifestyle you just saw? Let's be straight. All of you won't. Some of you will. All of you won't. Guys, the difference is not the people. It's not the model. It's not if there's people out there that have what we need. It's not who you know. It's are you willing to go through the problems? That's it. Now, the tough part is I can't tell you what those problems are going to be. I can tell you that there will be some. I can tell you you all have those moments on the page where you have to make those decisions. I'll also tell you this. You don't have to know everything you need to do to make it happen. You really don't. You guys, the future you gave you the answers. You know what you need to change. You don't have to worry about, well, how do I get from here to there? You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about how do I get from A to Z. You don't have to see every step. All you have to be able to see is the next step. Does that make sense? Because if you can see enough to get from A to B, well, then you can worry about getting from B to C, and then you can worry about getting from C to D. Just worry about your next what? I don't know what problems you guys have, but I do know and have absolute certainty what many of your guys' next step is. You heard all the leaders right before I came up here talk to you guys about some event we have going on in like 35 days in Miami, where we're taking over an arena where the Miami Heat play. What's that event called? What's that event called? What's that event called? For those of you guys in the room that are here because this is your exit. I'm not speaking to everybody. I know some of you guys are guests, customers. You're doing this part-time, spare time, and that's fine. But for those of you guys in the room, that this is your exit. That your story, just like I shared my story, this is the vehicle. I'm telling you guys, vitality is an absolute must. Just like going to events similar, nowhere near the size or scale or fun for that matter, changed my perspective and all the people you guys saw, that's what changes yours. I'll let you guys know the technology that we're rolling out, the people that are going to be there, founders, doctors, top producers, the new products that we're launching. I didn't say that. The things that we've been preparing for this event, we, behind the scenes, have been working on for close to a year. This is the Visalis debut. Everything we've been doing, guys, this Vitality event is going to take us quantum leaps to another level. Yes, it's inspiring, it's informative, it's educational, it does all of that, but you guys, here's what it does at high level. It has everybody that's in attendance walk out of there with the skills they need to get to where they want to go, but more importantly, the belief. The what? Belief. You guys, you walk out of there like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Someone throws you an objection, you're like the Matrix. You're like, just stop, right? That's what it does. It gives you that type of congruence. And it's a whole lot of fun. So for those of you guys that see yourself, and this is the exit, vitality is your next what? Step. You saw right after lunch, and we're about to break. After lunch, they're going to give away a bunch of stuff. It's awesome for the leaders to put that together. VIP travel, experiences, hotels, free regist product, all that stuff is great. But like the gentleman up here said, don't register because you might have a chance to win something free. That's an added bonus. Register because you know that is your next what? Step to get to where you want to go. But Blake, I got kids. Sounds like a problem. But Blake, I don't know if I have the money right now. Sounds like a... But Blake, I already got something planned that weekend. Sounds like a... Breakdown or what? Breakdown or what? The greater the challenge, the greater the what? Guys, that's the difference. I would be so excited if half of you guys got what I'm saying here. And half of you went out there and said, not only am I in, but I'm going to take the next 35 days and do everything I can to get as many people on my team with me. So when you're sitting there in a stadium of 20,000 crazy Visalians, it's not just you leaving, but it's you leaving with your own little team, your own little army, all 10 feet tall and bulletproof, ready to go out there and take that vision that you saw and make that a reality one step at a time. Can we do this? Can we do this? You guys are rock stars. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you at Vitality and seeing you 5 years from today. Guys, thank you guys very much.